What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's brand new video where we are discussing a very divisive Kiss record. Some people love it, some people hate it. Either way, hopefully this will make for a decent discussion. We're talking about this one right here, right there. Hot in the Shade. What a record, what a record. I think we can improve this record. Some people might think it's perfect the way it is, but either way, let's delve into this record that is, you know, the longest one from the band. Is it the longest? It's either this or Carnival of Souls. This one has the most tracks nonetheless. And as a result, I think we can improve upon this thing. And before we go any further into this discussion, I do want to throw it out there. This is a little bit of a response video to the In My Head channel. That's an amazing channel here on YouTube. I'll link it below. They have a series of videos on there called The Panel Has Spoken, and it's basically a community-based version of voting on songs and ranking songs on each Kiss album from the worst to the best. You can vote on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, what have you, and they kind of rank the songs from there. And on their most recent video for Hot in the Shade, they had a bonus question on there that said, what songs would you take off of Hot in the Shade to make it a better record? Because that is one of the main complaints on this record, is that it is admittedly a little bit too long. So we're going to jump into that, but before we get there, let's talk about some other things we can do to improve this record before the song selection is even a thing, basically. One big thing about Hot in the Shade is that this is essentially a collection of glorified demos, right? We've all heard that, and when you listen to it, it sounds like it. There's drum machines used, the tones aren't great, everything about it sounds kind of cheap and budgety, and it doesn't make sense for a band as big as Kiss was to do that. I know that they weren't as big at that point in their career as they were in their, say, 70s heyday or even, you know, earlier in the 80s, but nonetheless, it's kind of unacceptable how bad this album sounds, and that's one of the first things we could do to improve it. Go into a real studio, don't just use the demos, and get a real producer. You know, I know that Gene and Paul have produced great things in the past, but it seems like they were a little bit out of their element on this record, so I say bring a producer in. I don't care who it is, just bring a producer in that's not Gene and Paul, honestly. And related to the sound of it, don't use drum machines. Drum machines are very noticeable on this record. They are so noticeable. Even if you didn't want Eric Carr to do it, or he couldn't do it the way you wanted to, bring someone else in. Bring Eric Singer in. He was in the fold at this point. Bring in a studio guy if you didn't want Eric to do it, but I think Eric could have done it. None of these songs are that complicated, but the use of drum machines on this record, it's baffling to me, and it's so noticeable. If you've ever, you know, listened to a drum machine or know anything about how songs are put together, it's just so noticeable, and it's just mind-boggling that that's what they did on a full-length, high-production, whatever you want to call it, full record. And all of these things would have been acceptable if they just called this a collection of demos as opposed to a full-length, you know, new record, but that's not what it is. It's a full-length Kiss record for the summer of 1989. It's Hot in the Shade. Let's get out there, let's party, let's do it. Now, of course, Kiss had an excuse for this. They wanted to get back to a more raw sound, a more rock and roll sound, a more real sound, because Crazy Nights wasn't as successful as they wanted it to be. So, of course, in the Kiss world, when something isn't as successful as you wanted it to be, you just throw it away and act like it never existed. But I can see through that. I can see that they just didn't want to spend any money or time on this record, and at the same time, still wanted to put a record out, be it for contractual reasons or just the band wanting to get back on the road. Either way, this record came out, and when you listen to it in hindsight, it just doesn't sound that good. The sound needs to be fixed. Now, mind you, if the sound of it was bad but the songs were there, it'd be completely okay. And there are some songs there, but there's too many songs on this record. There's too many songs. 15 tracks for this subpar record is just too much. If we had gotten a Kiss record of 15 tracks around, you know, I don't know, Dress to Kill or Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Dynasty, any of the classic ones, even Lick It Up, Creatures of the Night, those could have been some cool records with 15 tracks, but this one does not need 15 tracks. I'm going to shave this one down to the bare minimum. I'm going to shave it down to the bone, 9 tracks. I'm going to recommend 9 tracks that would make this record a whole lot better, especially with proper recording, but even if we threw that out the door, these are the 9 tracks that I think would make this record a lot better, and I'm even going to sequence them just a little bit different. So let's just jump right into it. And opening the record is Rise to It, and I think that should stay as the opening track. I think it's a wonderful opening track, opening with that kind of bluesy riff and then going into just the full-on rock song, and that's a good song. That's one of the better ones on the record. We might as well start this off on the right foot and really get people into the Kiss mindset. It's a great track. Keep it at track number 1, and then right after that, I'd switch things up. You know, the Gene track, Betrayed, of course, comes next on the record, typically speaking. I say stick with Paul. Front load this thing with Paul because Paul's tracks are the best on it. And we're going to go right into King of Hearts. It's a wonderful song. It's an underrated song. It's a great song. And that would be a really good way to kind of show you what this record's going to be a little bit more so for the second track there. Now I'm going to push Forever up to track 3 because It's the big hit of the record. It's what made this record successful. You want it early in the record, and a lot of hair metal bands have track number 3 as the big ballad track. Go back and look at them if you don't believe me. They open usually with kind of like a deeper cut, then they have the first rock single, and then they have the ballad. We kind of switch that up, having the single first, but I think Forever works really well as the third track. I know this is, again, very front-loaded with Paul songs, but, you know, Gene wasn't really on his Kiss planet and wasn't really putting out great material at this point, so I think Forever would work really well at track number 3. And then for 4, we're finally going to give Gene a chance here. We're going to go with Betrayed. I think it's an okay Gene song. I think all the songs on here at best are just okay Gene songs, and, you know, it's not going to scare anyone away. They've listened to Forever. It might be a little jarring after that, but we can't have 4 Paul tracks in a row necessarily, so let's give Gene a chance. And then right after that, we'll switch it up a little bit more with the 5th track being Little Caesar. I legitimately like the song. It might be that it's just so unique in the Kiss canon having Eric Carr sing it. That might be the reason I like it. I don't know, but I do legitimately think it's a good rock song. I think that Eric Carr has a cool voice. They should have let him sing a little bit more, in all honesty. And, you know, again, Gene doesn't have a lot of good tracks. You don't want to completely front load it with Paul, so let's throw that Eric Carr track right in there to finish up side 1 of the vinyl. And then we're going to flip the record over. So for track 6, if we were listening on a CD, and if we're on the vinyl, first track of the second side, let's start off with a bang. Hide Your Heart. What a great song. You know, starting off the second side with a single seems to be a, you know, rational place to start. Again, I know that there's not a lot of Gene, but, you know, it's hot in the shade Gene. So after that, we're going to give Gene a chance again. We're going to give him Cadillac Dreams. I like Cadillac Dreams. I know a lot of people hate it because it's Gene singing about money, but if you want honesty and you want people singing about what they know, Gene loves money, Gene wants money, and as a result, this is a very honest song, and I think it's kind of cool. It kind of works on the record. After that, for track number 8, we're going to go with The Street Giveth and The Street Taketh Away, because you got to have a Gene track on there, and it's one of the least offensive ones in my opinion. And then for track number 9, the grand finale for this record, we're going to go with Silver Spoon. I think that's a decent Paul song. I know that we left off some of the other Paul songs that people just love, like Read My Body, but I think that it'd be okay to spare the world Read My Body and just end it with Silver Spoon. I think that's a logical place to end the record. That would be a decent ending track because you know, it's Paul, leave them with a good taste in their mouth, and you know, there you go. There's my improved version of Hot in the Shade. So let's review that. Let's review that. Track number 1, Rise to It, followed by King of Hearts, then Forever, then Betrayed, then Little Caesar, then Hide Your Heart, then Cadillac Dreams, then Street Giveth, Street Taketh Away, and Silver Spoon ending the whole thing off. I think that would be a much better record. It would be, you know, not a lot of Gene on there. Not a lot of Gene, as you can tell. Out of those 9 songs, you have 5 Paul tracks, 1 Eric track, and 3 Gene tracks. And even though that's kind of throwing off the structure of half Gene and half Paul, it happens. I mean, Dynasty only had 2 Gene songs, for example. And I know some of the other 80s ones didn't, you know, have a lot from Gene, and let's just be fair, at this point, Paul was basically writing all the good stuff. We know that. Gene knows that now and admits it. So I do think that shaving off a lot of the fat, a lot of the Gene tracks and some of the lesser Paul ones, you could make this a better record overall. So that's how I would improve the record. But how would you guys improve the record? Would you knock it down to 9 songs? Would you knock it down to 4 songs? Maybe you would just put Forever out as a single. I would love to know from you guys in the comments below. And, you know, this all spawned, again, from the In My Head channel, so you should go check them out and maybe let them know as well what you would shave off. You know, leave the comment below on my video and then copy and paste and put it on their video, but actually watch their video as well, because it's a great channel, a lot of cool stuff, always putting out great Kiss content over there, just like we are over here, so it's a good little Kiss community we're building here on YouTube. But with that being said, again, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this. If you are new around here, definitely hit that subscribe button so you actually, you know, get some new videos from me, and hit the little bell so that you maybe have a little bit of a better chance of actually seeing them show up in your news feed there, your subscription feed, your YouTube feed. Give this thing a thumbs up. Again, my name is Kimchi Chris, and I will see you guys on the next video.